So it's two dads and six daughters again. Mark Clark and I'm Tony Scott, and thank you for watching. And you're just back from vacation, man. How'd it go?
Just just back from vacation. We had a great time in Hilton Head, South Carolina. We look, man, we live for that week. This
Yeah.
and Christmas are our two favorite weeks. So even though through good times and bad, broke and not, we have a great time, man.
So this is like a tradition, the Hilton Head thing, right?
13 years, Tony.
Wow,
13 years, my
man,
brother.
man. So did you go to a Paula Deen restaurant?
No,
No.
no. Poor Paula Dean.
Yeah, well,
She took it. Woo, woo, woo.
man, it's been brutal, man. She fired her manager because I don't know why she fired her manager, but
Yeah,
I mean, what was he supposed to do? You,
he
you're the
wasn't
one.
gonna.
You're the one who said it in the deposition that you said that you use the N word. So, but I guess that's kind of like been overshadowed by the George Zimmerman thing, man. I don't know if you how much you followed it while you were on vacation, but
Yeah,
it's the prosecution rested their case, so now the defense is putting on theirs, and they're bringing all these people up to say that that's George's voice screaming. That's George screaming.
right.
But I common sense. Maybe I'm missing something, man. Maybe you could tell me because I don't understand how a man with a gun pointed at someone else 2 to 4 inches away, and you blew a hole through the ventricle, through the heart, and through the lungs. What are you screaming about? You got the gun. You're in control. How did you scream? And the other thing is that you had an inside holster, which means your gun was inside your waistband on a holster like that. How did Trayvon Martin see that in the dark? There's just no way.
It's very. I mean, it seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really does seem ridiculous, and I don't know how satisfied I am with the prosecution. It seems like they had some mess ups that aren't supposed to happen, and I don't know. And my gut feeling is that Zimmerman's not gonna. I'm not gonna say he's gonna walk, but I have a gut feeling that he's not going to be charged to the full extent of what he should be.
Well, I think it's second degree murder, but they can also convict him of manslaughter instead of second degree murder. And manslaughter, I think, is a much lesser charge, although it sounds worse. Manslaughter, it
Yeah,
just sounds like a worse charge, but it actually isn't, is my understanding.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I could definitely see manslaughter, but then again, there are a lot of mothers on the jury. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Like you said, from a logic standpoint, it doesn't make sense that he would be screaming and have the weapon
Right.
and know that he had a gun. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's ridiculous. But this goes back to the OJ trial, where what the lesson is, what people understand, or the process is different than people understand it to be.
hmm
And I
hmm
think these cases always end up showing that.
I wrote a blog about the Zimmerman case, and because a lot of people are angry at George Zimmerman's lawyers. Don't be angry at his lawyers. His lawyers they're doing a great job. They're doing what they're supposed to do. One lady says, I don't like the way the lawyer's disrespecting people. Don West. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to discredit, he's supposed to rattle a witness to the point where their story appears to be shaky. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying the prosecution may have fumbled the ball, but I don't know how difficult it can be. It's got to be very difficult to prove that somebody was murdered and there were only two people there and one of them's dead. That's got to be a very hard thing to do. So I'm not ready to say the prosecution's doing a bad job. But have your kids asked you about this at all, the George Zimmerman case?
Yeah, they're not really. They're not really. I think the young lady's testimony became a teaching moment, because she was kind of characterized by a lot of people. At first, people made fun of her.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you heard her whole backstory, you were like, wow, I feel like a jerk because, again, the first reaction I think is people of color end up saying, get it together. You're very critical.
Yeah.
But then you realize she's younger than you thought. She basically is a real kid going through what kids go through, and then you think about, well, when I was going into the 12th grade, if I was put under that much pressure, and I maybe didn't have the opportunities that I had, it looks like she didn't have. And, you know, the whole world was hanging on what you had to say. It made you look at it totally different, you know. And so I
Yeah,
think initially, you know,
well,
go ahead.
I think what people were like, you know, saying, how can she be so inarticulate? She speaks 5 languages. Well, you know what? I got cousins that speak more than one language, and they're some of the biggest idiots walking around the planet. I'm not saying Rachel Gentile is an idiot by any
Why you have to
means.
call her an idiot, man?
I'm not calling her an idiot. I'm just saying you can't use that as a barometer. But the fact of the matter is, she's 19 years old. She was out of her element, and clearly she was intimidated. Clearly she was a little frightened. That's just not her thing. Whose thing is it to stand up, sit up there, and tell your story? That's not a very comfortable position to be in when they're hanging on every word and you know it. And
And
you
your
know
body
it.
language and your body language didn't probably help. And
Yeah.
and I think the shock of us old schoolers when she said she didn't read cursive
Yeah.
was like, we didn't even know where it was going. I think you were watching. She said, well, can you read the letter? Well, no, I can't. Wait a minute, what's going on? And so I think that whole line of questioning
Mm-hmm.
shook her credibility at first, but then I think she became a sympathetic figure. And, you know, afterwards, when we heard that she basically was friends with Trayvon because he treated her fairly and treated her with respect, I think you then had to say, you know, that was sweet. And it said, I think that worked definitely in the prosecution's favor, as they tried to image Trayvon one way. And I think he's becoming, you know, he's shaping up to be what we thought he was a typical kid his age.
Right. Well, you know, I think when she said she didn't read cursive, see, I didn't believe her. I saw her being defiant. You know, I saw her being defiant to the man that says, okay, I'm not going to read that. And I'm just going to say I can't read cursive. That's how now I have no way to prove that. That's just a gut feeling. I could be
Tony,
totally off the mark.
Did you say the man?
The man.
Okay.
The man. I'm old school. What do you want?
I don't know if they know about the man. Tony.
The man. She knows about the man. So
I
what was
talk
it?
back to the man. I don't know. I don't know.
So what was the teaching moment? What was the teaching moment for your kids?
Well, I think
in regards to Rachel.
Yeah, I think it really, you know, the fact that, you know, I'm halfway on the radio and the kids' mom's on television every day, you really realize that they've been in front of the camera, they've been in front of people a lot for their age, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hell, they've been on TV.
They've been on TV many times. I mean,
yeah.
And so I just realized, and they kind of realized that, wow, you know, they're much more polished.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the average person is not on TV. I mean, the average kid is not on radio or television for the most part their whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's in their DNA.
Yeah, our kids end up being, you know, and they're in the public eye a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just realize, you know, so my kids who were, you know, from 8 to 12 versus this young lady who's 19 and obviously just was not comfortable, and her body language did not help at all. I just went to pick up my computer and the young lady who waited on me, her body language did not help her at all. And I was just thinking how she didn't say, it wasn't anything she said, wasn't anything she did specifically, but her body language did not work to her benefit. You know, her image said, I'm not a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just do the motions. Nothing about her said I'm sharp. I'm on top of it. You know, and so all these kind of things. So that was a teaching moment. Almost like we didn't have to say much. They noticed, like, wow, you know. And so these are all things, man, that, you know, impact your life. And then when you're thrown in a courtroom,
right.
And again, to divert away from the Zimmerman trial, but when we talked about a couple weeks ago, when Chad Ochocinco went to court, you know, us old school guys, we go to court, we got a suit and tie on.
Right.
Because that's why. Because that is how we were told you need to go to court. You need to be serious. This is serious. Your image needs to reflect somebody who's responsible and somebody who is not a criminal, you know? And so this whole case with Zimmerman, with the hoodie and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. I think there's no doubt that a black male in a hoodie is very scary for some people. I got stopped in my neighborhood, which, Bethesda,
Mm-hmm.
Maryland is considered one of the richest zip codes in the country. My truck was dirty, a dirty black Ford truck, and I had on a black sweatsuit. And I have no doubt that the way the cop treated me, and it was the first time, it ever happened to me, where there was a bit of profiling. Yeah, profiling. What does that mean? I think what it meant in my case was, does this guy live in this neighborhood? you know,
So
I,
were the girls with you at the time?
they were not with me. They
So
were.
how do you think you would have handled it if the girls would have been with you?
If the girls wouldn't have been with me, I would have really been angry. I would have really, if the girls hadn't been with me, I definitely would have been angry. Now, and I think if the girls had been with me, then I would have been treated the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The cop basically, it was a ticket. It was basically didn't have my seatbelt on. Click it or ticket, whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, but the whole exchange, dude, was like, wow. It was the first time I've had positive. Most of my experiences were positive. That whole driving while black thing, I gotta admit, man, they always gave me the benefit of the doubt,
Oh.
even in my neighborhood. But this was the first time, things like, when I reached for my ID or whatever in the glove compartment, he said, "You got any drugs? You got any guns or drugs in the car?" I was like. Then he said, "Are you scared? Are you scared?" I said, "No." He said, "It seems like you're scared." I was like, and I was thinking,
Really?
like challenging like my manhood. Again, at 40 something years old, understanding how the game works, not gonna let that fluster me. But obviously, if I was 20 something, you basically call me a punk.
Right.
You look
Right.
scared. Are you
Right.
scared? And then,
Well, the interesting thing was that last week, and you probably didn't see it, you were on vacation, CNN did a thing on the N-word, right?
mm,
And Don Lemon hosted it, and he had some people on there, one of them being LeVar Burton. And LeVar Burton says, and he said he told us to his 33-year-old son, which blew my mind that LeVar Burton has a 33-year-old son, right?
wow,
But he said that when the police pull him over, whenever they pull him over, for whatever reason, he takes both of his hands and he puts them on the outside of the door. And then he kind of lets it unfold from there.
mm-hmm.
Like he wants them to see that his hands, he's got nothing in his hands. And only a black man in the United States of America has to do that.
Yeah, and in fact, I think that's like you said, that could be distracting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you're like, what the hell is going on? If I'm a cop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of people have these things that they do that
Right.
probably don't even help.
Right.
And that's what happens when you're in a state where people are totally. Again, I think a lot of cops are scared, or they're the guy who always wanted to beat somebody's ass.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, Mr. Officer Friendly is who you want him to be. And there are those out there that are. It's like politicians. Out of all the politicians, what percentage, if you could do a lie detector or a truth serum, what percentage really want to make a positive difference and don't want to pad their pockets and don't care about power, who really care about the people?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine, well, that number.
It might be single digits.
It might be, and the same thing with officers. An officer who has self-confidence, is self-assured, who does not want to engage in any kind of physical altercation, but in fact wants to maintain order and wants people to, just get along and basically that officer friendly prototype. What percentage is out there? I bet the number of officers actually want that are higher than the number of honest politicians.
Yeah, I could see that. So I mean, with me and Olivia's 18. By the way, she just got her driver's license. She passed her test today.
Go Olivia. I was like, I was going to ask you about that because last time I talked to my goddaughter,
Yeah.
she did mention that, yeah, Dad. I was like, okay, what's going on, man? Dad, what was that about? What was the delay?
Of her taking her test?
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready. You know, she wasn't ready. I mean, Saturday I had to take her into Central West End to a dance studio for a dance class where they normally have practice. Same studio she's been going to on Saturdays for a while, and she drove, right? And I didn't say anything to her. I just let her find her way. I wanted to see if she could do it. Well, she got turned around, and she says, "What do I do?" I said, "Olivia, if I were not with you, what would you do?" And I'm quoting now. I'm not exaggerating. This is the quote. "I would pull over and reevaluate my life."
All right.
I was like, that's not a good answer. You know, that makes me think like maybe you need to live at home and not on campus when you start college in the fall. I mean, because it's like, come on, man, really?
Well, Dad, you've been, you cut a path for her. You cut a path, and she's used to Dad with that machete chopping down the path, man. So now she's gonna have to fend out there alone.
Yeah,
And
man.
you have to trust it.
So are your girls going down the same road? Are you shielding them as much as I shielded mine?
Well, I think probably not as much. I think
I mean, Olivia didn't know Boys Pete standing up till she was in the 8th grade.
no, they're hey, leave my baby alone. They're not super shielded. I think, like St. Louis, Baltimore was so real that I think it made me almost feel like I gotta share. You don't want them to lose their innocence, but you don't at the same time want to be super naive. And that combined with, I think, Allison, who kind of has, being from DC, kind of has a city mentality, though she really wasn't. She wasn't raised in the hood, but you know what I mean. I think so. We kind of like have been. We definitely have probably just talked about more grown up stuff. Probably not quite as shielded as Maria and Olivia, but still suburban shielded. You know what I mean? Well, but I just remember the conversations we've had. I remember when they were kids, really young, and Skylar asked, "Why did Lil Wayne grab his crotch?" And you know what I mean? Like, so it started those kind of conversations that. So
what was the answer?
Well, we don't know. I mean, what do you think about that? They were like, they thought it was stupid, and then like when the Chris Brown thing went down, they instantly they weren't fans of Chris Brown anymore. So, kind of engaging at every turn with the pop culture stuff.
Right.
And then I think what happens with sexuality pieces, everything we tell Sydney ends up getting trickled down to the other two. And so that's what kind of ends up happening. It ends up being like our Birds and the Bees conversation with Sydney when she was 10, 2 years ago or so, I think trickled down.
Who gave her the talk? You or Allison?
We both did.
Oh, you both sat her down?
Yeah, we both sat her down.
Yeah, I wanted no part of that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was like,
see, I think a lot. You like a part of you bows out of those moments, Mr. Diaper.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? I did. I changed Maria's diapers.
What?
Yeah, I did.
Wait a minute.
I always said I was not going to change diaper. I didn't change AJ's diapers and didn't really change Olivia's diapers. I did change Maria's diapers. I never started to change.
Yes, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't know that one, buddy.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I did. Right. I did. Wish I didn't because I'm still scarred.
Oh well, yeah. Well,
it goes back to like when we had my grandson here when he was 5, and of course he's going to be 11 this December. But when he was here, he was one time I was in the bedroom watching the Cardinals, and my wife and my girls were downstairs, and he was in one of the upstairs bathrooms, and he keeps calling for my wife over and over again, right? And so I got up. I said, "What do you want, man? What's the problem?" He says, "I'm done." I said, "You done what?" He said, "I'm done using it." I said, "So what you calling her for?" I said, "That's your that's your ass." I said, "You wipe your own behind. You wipe your behind." He said, I don't know how to. I said, "Well, that's your problem."
Did you show him, Grandpa?
No, I ain't show him. He's 5 years old. Nobody showed me. Shoot, I had to do it on my own. When my mama used to wipe my behind when I was really little, I watched, and then I learned to do it. And then I told her, "I don't want you to do it anymore." Huh?
Have you seen your drawers, mister?
tell her, it says, and close the door, man. Nobody wants to smell that. Close the door.
He's
God.
5. He's 5, Tony.
He's 5. Well, you know what? But he has, you know, you have to. He didn't have any man in his life teaching him anything.
Right.
Yeah. You know that feeling. You know what that was like.
Well, but yeah, you gotta, Grandpa, that was your chance to teach him how to wipe his ass.
Well, you figure it out. figure it out. That's what my dad used to always say when I was in high school and I wanted to quit school to go work where he worked. And he was like, nah, that don't work for me. Figure it out. And then he told my mom told me a couple months ago, she says, and then, because we were talking about that, she goes, yeah, he told me. And then he told me that he said, I ain't work my ass off like that so he can come work out there. Ain't no way in hell he's going out there to work. He going to do better than that. So, you know, but I mean, it's interesting how there are some things that we learn from our parents that we will adapt. And there are some things that we will not adapt. You know?
Yeah.
I think if I had a boy in the house, I would not have told him don't cry like my father told me.
Yeah, no.
My father used to bother my father when I cried. You know,
you're worried about you in this hard world. You know, how would a guy, you know, and the thing is weird about that with men and boys. I think about myself a lot. As you know, a very sensitive boy. It's weird how, like, I guess because I was big, and you know what I mean. It's weird. Like I was always sensitive and I always cried, and it's almost like you can be big and a sissy and cry and get beat up.
Yeah. You
can be big and people be like, I don't know if I want to try him or not.
Right.
And that was me. You know, it was like, I mean, I was an athlete or whatever, but I was just thinking, you know, if I was a small guy, I probably would have a whole different path. Small guys have to, you know what I mean? Yeah. They got to like do certain things.
Yeah.
I didn't have to. And I think a lot of it was because I was a big dude, you know, and those dynamics, you know, for kids are crazy. I'm sure, like, you probably, if you look at the Marines, you look at the military, you look at like any kind of stuff, any kind of service, things like that. I bet you smaller guys, the preponderance of small guys who made a name for themselves. You know?
That's true.
In prison, they always say the most dangerous guy is a small guy, you know. Always fighting for your spot, you know.
Yeah. What was a guy in Uptown Saturday Night? What was a little midget guy that whooped Sidney Poitier's ass in the bar? What was this?
Willie.
Little Caesar? Little Caesar? Was that his name? Little Caesar?
I thought it was Willie. Something Willie.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was.
Hilarious.
I don't know. Man, you don't get movies like that anymore, right? What do you do? You got girls. I got girls. 2 dads, 6 daughters. 3 daughters each. What do you do when a Viagra commercial comes on TV?
Oh, my God. I know. It was like a commercial. We just turn it. Yeah. And I'm like, a part of me feels like we shouldn't. You know, it's like, come on. I mean, it's like, it's a part of everything. But it is like, you had to tap out on vacation. We were driving, you know, on the radio.
Yeah.
Had to tap out, man. We were like 45 seconds into the spot. You were experiencing erection. Okay. Tap out.
Call your doctor if erection lasts more than 4 hours.
Yeah, we almost made it, but the erection just threw us out. Okay, I got one for you, man.
All right.
With the daughter thing, did Olivia or Maria ever have to confront? This one got me. This hurt me and got me, and I was angry. My oldest daughter didn't tell us this crazy boy at school basically kicked or punched her. He didn't tell us. She didn't tell us.
And how did you find out?
Like a year and a half later.
How did you find out through who?
Her.
She told you.
And man, you know, that was the first time. That was the first time that ever happened. You know, like that kind of thing happened, and the thought of her being scared, the thought of her keeping it to herself, the embarrassment, the pain, the moment, man. Whoo! I mean, I was so mad, and that, you know, back to the size thing. Sydney's, not a small girl. All the girls are decent size. You know, I was basically like, you know, if somebody, whatever they do to you, do that. You know, it wasn't the old. It was interesting because I think women and men handle it differently. My wife was more tell somebody, blah 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 blah. I was more kick his ass and tell me. You know what I mean? And I'll then tell his parents, and I'm whatever.
I'll take it from there.
I'll take it from there. But at the end of the day, I think the thing that hurt the most was the thought of her being afraid.
Hmm.
So, have you ever had that kind of thing happen? Or
Yeah,
any
we
kind
did
of?
with Olivia was being bullied by a girl
Mm,
named Lakendra. This was in like the seventh grade, and Lakendra was probably like 17 years old in the seventh grade, right? So, so, so then, I don't know how my wife figured it out, but she did, and Olivia didn't want to talk about it. So there was the first red flag right there, right?
mm-hmm.
And then, Lakendra called the house one night, and so Jashana, my wife, says, because we, no calls after 8:30. That was the house rule, right? And she said she can't talk on the phone, just that it's too late. And so she goes, okay. So then she calls back and she's like, I really need to talk to her. And, so my wife like says, no, she can't talk right now. And she goes, but I need to talk to her. And my wife, all of a sudden I hear, because, Jashana doesn't raise her voice. All of
Right.
a sudden I hear this voice go, let me tell you something, little girl.
Mm,
So,
mm,
I told Olivia, because Olivia, of course, the typical, don't do anything about it. I'll get embarrassed in school. Don't do anything. It'll. And I just had to tell her, either you fix it by this day, like in 2 days, or we gonna have to step in. And then I'm not gonna care about anybody's feelings, and I'm not gonna care about anything but fixing this. That's how I handled it. I gave her 2 days, and she pretty much stood up to her and says, because the girl would always ask her for some of her some of her lunch, because Olivia would come home starving, right? And we was like, did you give her lunch? And she's like, yeah, I sent her lunch with a nice lunch and stuff. And she would come home hungry as hell, And finally we figured it out and it finally stopped. But I couldn't imagine though if a boy had punched my daughter, because I mean my grandson punched my kids when he was here when he was 5, and I took him upstairs and I told him, I said, dude, you never hit a girl,
mm.
and you never hit my girls, you know. I said, you do that again. I said, one of us, we're gonna come up here, and one of us gonna stay up here. One of us going downstairs. I'll let you figure out which one's gonna be up here, man.
He's like, could you help me wipe my butt, please? Can you help me with that?
Yeah. My butt. Wipe my butt. Oh man.
I'm muddy. I'm muddy here. I'm muddy here. I got mud here.
Oh man. Did
And
I tell
corn.
you that I'm having another grandson?
No, well, congratulations,
I
brother.
am in October.
Man, I got a feeling it's gonna be a boy.
It is a boy.
Yep, I get you're a boy. Yes, grandpappy.
Yeah, I think I made my daughter AJ. I think I made her mad because I
Uh
said,
oh, here we
because
go.
Robert, her boyfriend is gonna name the child, and so I said, well, has he come up with a name yet? And she said Kingston, and I said, tell him to try again. And we were texting, right? And I just, before I knew it, I had texted and said send.
Before you knew it, man. Come on,
Before I knew it, I was like,
come on, come on,
you know.
come on, man. Come on, Grandpa. You got to be more sensitive than that.
But I told her, I ain't gotta be sensitive to him, just to her. I mean, I like him; he's a nice guy and everything. But I told her this. I says, look, I would rather be so and so Junior than be named at 50 years old than be named Kingston at 50. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. You got to think this through. You got to think it through, man. Did I fail?
Hey, man. Kingston's not bad. You got Kingston, Jamaica.
He's not a country. He's a boy who's gonna be a man one day.
Kingston.
Don't need all that.
King. Your nickname is King.
Yeah, I don't need all that.
Your
Man.
grandson is a king, man.
He don't need to be named a king to be a king.
How are you, King? How are you? My name is King.
He's a name don't make you who you are.
Well, y'all in Texas, it'd be Kang. K-A-N-G.
Man, oh man, oh man. So before we wrap up, man, I did want to take some time to you're in the final stretch now for this afternoon job on WHUR.
Yes, man. We are nailing a strong 3% of the vote as we speak. And,
I'll get it up.
we need, well, I heard that before. You and I have heard that before, sadly. Yeah, man, we're trying to, you know what? It was funny because I was talking to Allison, and it's been so long, dude, that I had, I rarely have a downer day, but it's been so long. When they didn't tell us it was over either. It was like, Judy, what? And so,
Wow.
I looked at the page and it's on and popping. Who knew? No, who knew?
Yeah.
And so I think I was in that moment I was just like, okay, whatever. But then I was like, nope, gotta get in, so we'll be banging it out all week. Please go to WHUR.com, vote for Troy and Mark for the big voice contest, the biggest voice contest. And, we're going to take this home, get the afternoon job, man, and be back in the workforce.
Yeah, that'd be
full
great.
time.
That'd be great.
At the end of the day, it'll be great because when me and Tony are doing this, bringing in 6 figures right here. So, that would just be a little speed bump of money for us to have some fun with.
Yeah.
But and I tell you what, man, I look forward to, how much I love radio. I mean, at the end of the day, this last 5 years, I've been doing this and doing that. And at the end of the day, man, my passion is radio.
You're a broadcaster.
I'm a broadcaster, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So to do it every day and talk about what's going on in the world and play the hits, that would be a blessing. And I'm claiming it. And so, I guess we'll know by the end of the week at least. And I'm glad it's over. I'm glad, so I can move on. We can move on with our life and move forward with our thing,
Yeah.
And I also want to shout out Marcel, who's a big fan of this, by the way. He's been watching our show, our broadcast.
Right. Marcel's an awesome dude.
Oh, always awesome. And we got a couple sponsors too, Tony. I'll tell you about next time we do our thing.
We got a couple sponsors for this show.
Of course. Well, we got a conflict, On one hand, I got a moonshine sponsorship, but I don't know if we want a moonshine to sponsor our daughter's talk.
We got a moonshine sponsorship.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
They sell moonshine. Said I have to talk to my partner about it. I said, we're talking about kids here. So how much you gonna give us? Okay, well,
well,
maybe we can work it out. No, so we'll talk about that. And and also on vacation, let's just say my middle girl
became a woman.
Poor child.
Congratulations.
Right. Right in the middle of the vacay. But one more left, dude.
Man, how'd she take it?
Not well.
No.
She our middle baby. She enjoys being the baby.
But she's number 2 though.
She's number 2. She enjoyed being the baby. She wasn't the one who wanted to grow. I think out of the kids, Maria, which baby wanted to grow up?
Olivia.
AJ. Olivia.
Olivia. Well, out of the 2 here, yeah, AJ. Mm-hmm. AJ's 11 years older than Olivia, so AJ's 29.
But did she want to grow up fast? She's like the one.
Who, AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She did, and but Olivia, once Olivia figured out how to walk, she didn't want nobody holding her, or touching her. Right? She was out to. Yeah. She wanted to see everything.
Yeah.
Where Maria is more affectionate and more loving, I think.
Yeah, that's how Maria reminds me of Skylar. Yeah. And actually, it was kind of like there was like, and so very similar in that way. Yeah, she loved being held. She always, we basically didn't walk till she's almost 2. She's the mediator, and I think she's a little concerned about growing up, and so I think this was kind of like it wasn't a good deal for her. I think Sydney is the first and the oldest. I think the first and oldest was always kind of ready, and then I think the baby is she likes to be the boss. So I think it was an interesting experience, but again, man, I just what I think about, Tony, as we wrap this whole thing up, that the blessing that we have is, and I just hope that fathers who listen to this or don't listen to this, and I don't think some fathers really understand the blessing it is to have these moments with our kids, like to really enjoy your daughters, man. Because daughters, man, it's just like they're so the little women, man, and I think the reasons that we love our wives and those things that the things that make them special as far as how they care for us and care about us and care about the world, and you see that in your kids, your daughters, it really just makes you, appreciate them even more. So that moment for us was a special moment, though I know she wasn't happy about it. It just made me just realize and appreciate, when she was a baby and how now, the game changes a bit. And as you see with, as Olivia's going away to college, you're just like, wow, I remember when Olivia was, I don't have no pants on.
I don't have no pants on. Yeah. Boy, that went by fast, didn't it?
Yeah,
Man,
and so,
yeah, go freshman in college.
So we do this because I hope fathers understand that.
Sure.
I hope you don't get to be an old man and finally figure it out and go, oh man, because it goes by so quick, man. It's amazing how you remember the moments, but you really don't. Like you remember when they were babies, but you really don't. Alice and I always talk about if we could just have a day where they're babies again, it would be great because you kind of do forget. But sorry about that.
That's all right, man. That's what it's about. Two dads and 6 daughters, our weekly little podcast we do here. And we'll have a good rest of the week, man.
You too, man. Hopefully I have some good news for you next week. Everybody go vote at
WHUR.com.
I believe it's over Friday. We don't know.
Oh, yeah. We need to get on board. I've already posted it twice.
Okay. And thanks, man. Your 2 posts got us at 3%. So thanks, man.
I'll get you more.
Well, I don't know what's going on, man. I know we got people voting, man.
The fix is in, huh?
I'm not going to say that, but no. Only that'll happen if I'm bitter afterwards. Then I'll be,
all right,
I'll be that guy. But so yeah, man. Same bad time, same bad station, and we are looking for sponsors. If you are interested in being a sponsor, we'd love to have you on the show. Just contact me or Tony I'm at Mark Clark on Twitter, and Tony, you're.
I'll put the contact information in the notes below if you're watching this on YouTube.
I'm sorry. Okay,
yeah. Good. I'll do that. That'd be easy to do, and I'll put some up on the lower thirds too, and make it right.
Next week I'll have some more light. I'm sorry, got a tan and I'm darker this week. So
That is Mark Clark, y'all. 2 dads, 6 daughters. See you next week.